Believe it or not, the people who put together the college football polls are not perfect. They don't go 25 for 25 in selecting who the top 25 teams are year after year. In fact, it's such an inexact science that you get every year somebody who is ranked in the top 10, top 15, ends up going like 7-5. And what the hell happened there? In 2022, I think, 2022, Texas A&M was a top 10 ranked team to start the season and finished 7-5. Like that is kind of par for the course. Every year, I think there are people all over the Midwest who will tell you that Notre Dame is overranked year after year after year. So today I've got a list of 5 teams that I think are overrated to start 2024. Now, I feel like I need to preface this because if one of your favorite teams is on this list, you immediately think that I think your team sucks, isn't going to win a game. And I don't think that. I just think maybe they might not be as good as people believe them to be going into the season. For instance, like I don't have Oregon on my list. Oregon is preseason number 3. Feels high to me. Now, it doesn't feel so high that I'm like, they're not even a top 20 team. But there are teams that if you look through the coaches poll in the top 25 that make you go like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And so those are my 5. So for instance, number 5 on my list is the number 5 ranked team in the poll, and that's Alabama. Again, I think Alabama is a college football playoff contender. I don't know that Alabama completes that mission in 2024. I believe Kalen DeBoer is a very, very, very good football coach. But I also know that the adage that you don't want to be the guy who replaces the guy exists for a reason. And I don't know that if Kalen DeBoer is not successful at Alabama, that it's going to be Kalen DeBoer's fault. But they've got a talented roster. But it is a first-year head coach, a relatively tough schedule, and I think they are the least overrated of the bunch. Like if you were to, and all of these schools get benefit of the doubt, right? All of these programs get, because of the logo on the side of the helmet, or in Alabama's case on the chest, you get a little extra bump in your status, especially in the preseason top 25. Is Alabama a top 12 team? I think the answer to that question is absolutely unequivocally. Are they a top 5 team? I don't know. And obviously, we're going to see that all borne out throughout the college football season. But to me, they feel a little overrated to start the year. My number 4 team, and I think a lot of this has to do, there are a couple of things. I think Michigan is slightly overrated to start the season. They are ranked 8th in the poll. And part of me is just that, okay, similar to Alabama, first-year head coach in a relatively tough schedule. And part of that doesn't have anything to do, like the schedule part doesn't have anything to do with the rankings, especially in the preseason rankings, right? You're not picking, and the coaches aren't selecting like, hey, here are the teams that I think are going to finish in order. They are selecting who they think the top 25, the best teams going into the year are. And we'll get to that later. But Michigan is ranked 8th. Michigan lost a ton of talent from a very, very, very good football team in 2023. So you're replacing a bunch of guys. You have question marks at quarterback, a first-year head coach, plus a difficult schedule. That, to me, feels kind of like the quintessential formula for being overrated. And maybe my biggest gripe is some coach gave them a first place vote as the number 1 team in the preseason poll. Now, I don't know who that was, but it feels a bit ambitious to believe. And I imagine the thought process is just simply, to be the man, you got to beat the man, and nobody's beating that man, so they are number 1. I don't agree with that idea, but Michigan's lost a ton of talent. Question marks at quarterback, first-year head coach, tough schedule, and then you get a first-place vote. It feels a little high to me going into 2024. My number 3, 2, and 1 I feel are probably pretty overrated. At number 3, I have Miami. And I don't know that Miami is a trendy pick and a trendy talking point to make the college football playoff. And I've talked about that here on the show. I don't think that is because people think that Miami is very good. I don't think people believe that Miami is in that same stratosphere as Ole Miss and Penn State and Missouri, LSU, whoever doesn't win the Big 12. I don't think Miami's in that same group as teams who can sneak their way into the college football playoff at 10-2 because they're that good. It's their schedule is that bad, but they don't play anybody really of any consequence. Miami has strung together some recruiting classes that are really good, under the radar good. Like from 2021 through 2024, they have put together really good recruiting classes. And they don't have anything to show for it other than a bad loss to Georgia Tech last year where they were the laughingstock of the college football world. And I just, you keep waiting for Miami to turn that corner and be that program that people think they should be, expect them to be. And they are ranked 19 to start the season. And I think part of that is one of those predictor polls where it's like Miami's going to be a top 25 team throughout the season. Is Miami the 19th best team in America? I would be hard-pressed to say yes to that. But their schedule's not great. And they're going to be a top 25 team, barring the bottom just falling out of that thing. So I don't have a ton of faith in Miami. My number 2 and 1, I feel much more strongly about. Kansas State is number 17 in the poll. I have them as my number 2 overall overrated team. Avery Johnson is a dynamic quarterback. He is very good. They, I don't want to say they pushed out Will Howard, but they pushed out Will Howard, who had done really not a whole lot wrong for Kansas State. He just wasn't Avery Johnson. But is Avery Johnson going to be consistent week after week after week? Is he going to be great? Is he going to elevate their play week after week after week? I think those are fair questions to ask. And then outside of that, outside of Avery Johnson, what do they have? They're solid, but they don't have anybody that makes the Big 12 preseason conference teams. They don't have anybody that just jumps off the page as like, this guy's going to be a playmaker on either side of the ball that you feel consistently week after week after week is going to beat the guy across from them. In a 1v1, 11 times in one play, do you feel really strongly that Kansas State has playmakers who are going to beat the opposing player time and time again? I don't, outside of Avery Johnson. They are going to be good. They are fundamentally sound. They very rarely beat themselves. And there are people picking them to win the Big 12. And I don't know that they're at that level yet. I think they can be very good if Avery Johnson can be great, elite, top quarterback in the nation level. I just don't have the faith that he's going to reach that this coming season. And then at number 1, I have Texas A&M. I think Mike Elko is going to do a really good job at A&M. I think he's going to have them consistently competing for the upper echelons of the SEC. But is he going to do that in 2024? I don't know. In the SEC preseason poll, they're picked to finish 9th. So you're not even picked to finish in the top half of your conference, but they're ranked 20th to start the year. Now, I understand that the idea is that the SEC is going to be that good that you can be 9th in your conference and top 20 in the country. I don't think it bears out that way. If you look at the top 25, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 9 SEC schools in the top 20. I don't think it's going to, when you start beating each other, you start getting losses on your record. And even though they're going to get the benefit of the doubt because of that patch that's going to rest on the shoulder of their jersey, I don't think you can be the 9th best team in your conference and be one of the 20 best teams in America. Texas A&M has a player on the preseason all SEC teams, and there are 3 teams on the offensive side of the football. They have an offensive side of the football player coming back and returning, or is predicted to be on the all-conference team from an offense that finished 50th in total offense. They're not going to be great, elite on either side of the ball, I don't think, in 2024. I think in 2025, they're going to be very good defensively, and I think they're going to be one of those programs that's good enough offensively. I just don't know that they get there this year. And if you are going to be locked in those battles where there are 9 SEC teams in the top 20 rankings, you're going to have to beat somebody probably with offense that is incredibly similar to you, that you match up with really well, that you're really close in nature with. And I don't know that I have, like, Texas A&M going to start the year with Notre Dame. That is a challenge. Their schedule is not overly difficult. They play Texas, they play LSU, they play Missouri. But those are the differences between being, if you can beat Missouri, you can beat LSU, you can beat Texas. I don't know that you can. That's the difference between being a 9-3, 10-2 program and an 8-4, 7-5 program. And I think it feels ambitious to expect A&M to be a top 20 program in year number 1 when there's not a whole lot to work with in year number 1. So those are my ideas on 5 teams that are overrated to start the season. I want to know your thoughts. Did I pick somebody wrong? Did I miss somebody? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's have that conversation. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we're pumping out. Also, hit the thumbs up button. It goes a long way and helping reach more college football fans. And more college football fans is always a great thing. See you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.